All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Grasshopper. Let's do this, see what we've got. Close the other windows that aren't necessary, including Dropbox. Pause syncing for 2 hours. Not pause thinking, but pause syncing. Thinking. Alright, let's see what we have it here. And now, sound alerts. Oh yeah, we have to do all that stuff too, don't we? I'm positive that the sound alerts are not working. Absolutely positive sound alerts are history. Check it out. Make sure we're logged into sound alerts at least. Log in with Twitch. Whenever I start a new place, some of these things are like that. There we go. Library 2.0. Uh-oh. There is a new feature, Library 2.0. Finally. Well, we'll configure that later. Not configure it now. So needless to say, what's going on in this particular picture? Alright, so we have a quarter screen. Someone's not moving. Dude. So far, so good. All those fronts. As me streaming, which I did find out the other day that I was not registered or listed as streaming. But he's timed out for 24 hours. Either way. Papa Chacha? Papa Chacha is in action. Not sure how this music is coming across, but it's a little choppy for me. I can hear this, that, and the other thing. That's paused. Up to date. Adobe Creative Cloud in the background. Not sure if I want that running. Everything else looks good. We'll be catching up on Instagram stories, videos, things like that in a bit, on average. Maybe creating a reel of walking to the tournament site in this lovely, lovely Icelandic weather. It's so good. I am being facetious, of course.
Said hi, Master Chess Dojo.
Good morning, Paul.
Big cheese mate. Said way too lovely.
The cheese mate. How did you finish? The cheese mate was in the tournament with us. And I didn't recognize him at first, and I can only apologize. I was distracted by his compatriot, Trendestus Aaron. Needless to say, that's definitely him. Tends the hat. Maybe if he was wearing the hat, I would have had a better chance. And do not pack the hat.
Big cheese mate. Said 459 Ricky Tuscaro's last 2 hours. Still such a great tournament for me.
Yeah, it was a lovely tournament. I was very happy to finish at 5. I may do a recap of my last round game.
Said I did not pack the hat.
I wear the hat onto the plane. That's the easiest way. And I'm going to buy a hat, actually. I have an address for a hat store. I'll plug it into the chat here. That was given to me by a friend. Here it is. I'll pack it in here. So I'm going to head there later. I'm going to check out having a slightly wider brimmed hat. Perhaps if you were interested in joining me, if you're still here. The weather isn't getting to me. Or maybe it's the water? I don't know. Cross my fingers. So anyway.
Said, ooh, I may check it out later, have a day to kill and the weather is a bit iffy.
The weather's a bit iffy. No, the weather is the weather, as it turns out. I'm planning on going there about 3 o'clock, give or take, in a few hours. Once I do my normal daily stream routine here, trying to stay on task. I have like 2 game recaps to do. I think I'm at 2 game recaps. I'm not sure. I have to look. I haven't been putting the YouTube tags on them right away either, so I have to catch up on that one. Meanwhile, Mr. Papa Chacha has let this rook invade to his 2nd rank, and it's looking a little tricky to try to save it. Papa Chacha's looking very, very optimistic, as I'm not sure what he thinks he's doing here. I might have played knight to e3 and g4 in order to hold those squares. But he's running for the a7 pawn, and he's going to promote one of those b pawns more than likely. Well, that made life a little bit simpler. We have the shelter from behind with the b pawns. This looks like it's game over, unfortunately. For Tuna Chess. Tuna Chess did not think this through at all. We're not going to stop and take that pawn, are we? Seriously? Oh, come on. What's a person to do for some fun? Really, that square? It's very unusual choices here. Because here would be tagging the rook. Instead, we're creating more counterplay for our opponent, even though there's nothing here. Papa Chacha could well run out of time if he doesn't seem to know how to win with an extra queen. You gads. That was a good time to block, if any. That was the time to block. I bet he's going to push the pawn. Oh, I was wrong. I thought he was going to push the pawn and have to promote all over again. This is only 3+2, by the way. The cheese mate. If you're up for it, how's Iron doing? Grand Mistress Iron. What?
The cheese
That was not what I was expecting.
Said she good, still sleeping.
Good. It was great to meet you guys. I find it always very cool. See, there, again, I didn't understand that last choice because we had rook takes g7, check to rip open the lines and then invade with the queen. Oh, come on. We could have come up with a more creative mate than that, but I guess we only had 4 seconds left. So there are only 2 rounds left. It's impossible to join after the halfway mark in Swiss systems.
The cheese mate. Said she finished on 259, better score than last year, and her chess has improved so much.
That's awesome. Uh-oh. I didn't even get to play a game. Oh well. There were just not enough participants. I was having some technical difficulties setting up the travel stream, as I've had to rearrange my layout and create a new window, do all this stuff with the 3 monitor setup that I have here at my Airbnb, C'est la vie. Oh, I don't have the date on the stream title? What's up with that? Oh, okay, no, I don't have the date here, but I do have the date on the stream title. Let's run over for a quick game recap, and I will do official game recaps later with a proper setup at home. That's what I've been doing. My opponent could have... I had my mind set on a draw in the last round, and just when I became better in the position and could have played for more, I sort of bowed out. I don't believe that I did the game from round 8 with Alexander Potter. But basically, my opponent tried to clobber me with an F3 versus my Grunfeld. And while the most popular move is Bishop G7, E6 was played by Ali Reza, and it's going to involve C5 anyway. So there's no reason to delay it. I chose C5 right away. I'm still probably going to end up playing E6. As it turns out, my opponent did not push to E5. Can you believe that? Had I played it the other way around with E6, the professional Ali Reza way, I would have found myself with some leaky dark squares here. I wouldn't have liked that at all, so I'm very happy with my choice as he chose to give up the center. Now normally, as I remind everyone, there are 3 ways to handle the center. You're either going to hold the center, and in Nimzo-Indian terms that would be E3, for example, or give up the center, and in Nimzo-Indian terms that might be queen to C2, allowing C5 and C takes D4 and queen takes D4 in some cases. After bishop takes C3, queen takes, just giving up the center. And then there's fighting for the center, which we all know to be true in things like the Sicilian defense, where you let white set up some form of a thing and then you attack the center. So fighting for the center, but my opponent opts for giving up the center, and I thought this was rather strange, so I didn't waste too much time on recovering my pawn and getting my development sped along here as quickly as possible. I thought queen to D3 was a very unusual move. I didn't understand it at all. If he's going to bother me, that's fine. I'm just going to move to the side, perhaps returning at some point in the future to D7 or D8 if I had to. But, gee, the mystery continues. Knight to C6. After all, I don't want him to get any funny business with E5. Again, my opponent plays duplicate moves. He's moved this knight twice. He moved this pawn twice. He is going to have to move his queen again. Therefore, I am 1 move away from finishing my development. Just 1 move. So I'm ahead by several tempi, and I did gambit back my tempi, and it seemed to turn out okay. I'm not a big fan of this particular move, but as it turns out, I was intent on trading queens as black and outplaying my opponent in the endgame with the 2 bishops. So now my opponent presents me some real problems.
ZN is fully placed on G3.
Right, but now he's made it good. He's got the E4 square, so I was starting to concern myself here, Paul, with whether or not I misjudged my opponent, so I had to come up with some form of conclusion. My original goal was to gain time with the rook tagging the bishop. Obviously this isn't possible now, as he gets to capture like checkers 2 in a row, while I only get 1. Therefore I have to decide on the proper placement. By process of elimination, this leaves only knight to d7 as the logical choice, and when he plays f4 to guard his pawn, I tag his bishop. This is perfectly acceptable. White is a little better in this position with the space advantage, but the next move is relatively critical. Candidates for white, everybody. Candidate moves for white in this position. Now, this process of finding candidate moves is huge for every player at all levels. You have to just look at the position and throw out 3 moves as fast as humanly possible. Now my opponent already missed the idea of playing e6 last move instead of playing f4 to disturb my pawn structure. I was quite happy about that. But e6 remains a candidate move. He could desperado his pawn, and I could move my knight and try to gain time on his bishop. This is all on the cards. He has castle and king side, castle and queen side. Ah yes, Paul, but now which one of those 3 moves is the best move? The only one I might disagree with would be king e2, but I hear you. I don't necessarily know. I also considered bishop e4 as a candidate move, which my opponent did not play. So we could also relocate that bishop and put pressure on the queen. Oh, you are in luck. You are in luck, because that was the move I was banking on my opponent playing, being the weaker of the two of us. And I'm going to give that one, unfortunately, the question mark. Maybe 2 question marks, unfortunately. The best move was in your candidates. This is what you should find solace in. I believe that the simplest and best move was rook to d1. And with rook to d1, you solidify this bishop, await to commit the e4 square toward another piece, and work from there. Probably this knight moving into there, and instead of that knight might want to arrive on d5. Bishop is here to support possible f5s. We don't know which order any of this is going to happen in. My opponent, thankfully, was playing into my plan. Now black to move and win. Black to move and win. Candidates for black. In fact, it's very hard to find 3 moves here for black, because immediately after you find the 3 moves for black, before you found the 3rd move, now my opponent did not register candidates for the opponents. Let's get back to the candidate move game. It's absolutely essential. Not only do you need to find candidate moves for yourself, but then when you start the calculation process, you have to find 3 moves for your opponent for each of your moves. And you have to do this so rapidly that it is almost internalized. You don't actually even know that you're doing the process. Almost every good player does this process without thinking about it. They scoop up all the good moves, they sift and sort, and then whatever is left is what requires analyzing as far as the good moves go. Indeed, the only move you left out in this particular position was knight f8. Knight f8, knight e6, knight d4. You could have also gone in this direction, but it makes it more awkward for that rook. So in any event, paying attention to the improvement of this knight, I'm not entirely positive that I'm ready. I think my opponent only saw knight f8 in this position, and he was going to answer knight to d5. But I played bishop h6. Now things are a little tough for my opponent on the dark squares. As it turns out, my opponent has at least 1, possibly 2 pawns falling. He chose knight to d5, and I weighed this position up for a very long time as to what I really needed to be concerned about. I got very ambitious here. I looked at a variety of moves. For example, just continuing with knight f8, allowing the e7 pawn to be captured. But I decided to rush things right away and keep the square under control with the help of the knight, while the rook is no longer, or not yet, threatening my rook on d8. And I forced him to play to a very awkward square. He literally has to go back. He does not achieve anything by going to c7.
Pawn E. That was NXT by the candidate.
In the previous turn, in this particular line, yes, knight takes e5 was a candidate. Good call. My opponent did mention that after the game, that was what he analyzed. And he had thought that he was going to try for bishop takes g6 and knight takes e7. Yeah, exactly. You're starting to see tactics much more sharply now. And I have to say, I jinxed myself yesterday before the 9th round by having a conversation with Ron Hay from Sweden. Everybody might know Ron from Bahu. I'm going to try to pronounce that properly as I've gotten more Scandinavian to give me the information. But Ron was here yesterday, and he noted how tactically sharp I have been this week, whether it's in my games or in my over-the-board games or online games, it doesn't matter. And I jinxed myself because I missed something yesterday, amazingly, ridiculously simple to see, that was obvious and tactical. And fortunately, my opponent didn't see it either. He was a very positional Caro-Kann player. And the trouble with positional Caro-Kann players is that they don't always see tactics. They just don't. So here, interestingly enough, I decided to rush things right away. He put his knight on c7. I'm actually threatening to trap this knight after I move my rook. So I scarf one pawn with check, and then I safeguard my rook, and I'm threatening to trap his knight. He's in trouble. So he has to move his knight yet again. I get to play a6, he gets to move his knight again. Is this lovely or what? And then I went for a critical think in this position. The critical think in this position involves whether to capture on e5 with the knight or with the bishop. Now my opponent is about 1800, but I can't treat him lightly. He is a young college student from Durham, England, going to school at the University of Durham, wearing a Durham University shirt and everything, so I know he's definitely got me by age remarks. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of moving the same piece twice. Although I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with this, moving the same piece twice in this position. It seems perfectly acceptable. However, why not, right? I'm going to take back with the bishop, and I had to conceive of the plan. I have a little bit of schematic thinking in mind. Basically, I need to place this bishop on this square, this pawn and this bishop on this square, b7, and only then...
the opening. Why continue you move the same piece twice?
It is the opening. I have not finished my opening. You're right, it's not the opening for white. White does have the placement of his rooks, but for me, I am still in the opening. I have not completed the opening. The rooks cannot see each other. The opening ends for a player when all of your pieces are active and all of your pieces are coordinated and developed. There are so many players out there who memorize opening moves who don't finish the opening. They start playing chess thinking that because their opening line or their opening prep is ended, that that's the end of the opening. But in reality, this opening will only be over when that bishop finds a home. Right now, I'm solving an opening issue. And my opening issue is how to find files or active placements for my rooks. And that's absolutely, utterly key. If I don't find active placements for my rooks, then there is nothing that I can do in this position, unfortunately. I have to really consider what's going on very carefully. And I don't have any time to dilly-dally. If I start moving the same piece twice, imagine that was a great correction for your game, Paul. Imagine if you think that the opening's over and you continue moving the same piece twice, that I'm down a rook and a bishop. The bishop on c8 and the rook on b8 are not in the game. So yes, I did consider b5 as a candidate move here. I did consider b5, bishop takes e5, and...
Said you literally continue move your light square bishop now.
No, I'm down a piece, and I'm down a rook until I get that piece into the game. That's all there is to it. So I have to actually decide what I'm going to do. So I was tempted, for the most part, to capture with the knight, just so that I could try to extract my bishop more quickly. However, my opponent is going to target my my bishop. I may exchange, I may not. I still appreciate the power of the bishop pair, and in fact, they're going to serve me well. I don't think I lose the bishop pair in this game at all. In fact, this dark squared bishop arriving on f4, interestingly enough, The threat of placing this bishop on f4 was overlooked by my opponent, and the bishop on f4 actually ends the game. I had 2 poetic games this tournament like that. So in this particular instance, after bishop to c7...
Said after RHF1 your bishop is okay on h6.
Ah, but do you remember the old AT&T commercials? Okay is not okay. I want more than okay. You know, how is the soup here? It's okay. How is this hotel for $1,000 a night? It's okay. It doesn't work out that way. Okay is actually not okay. You're right. I could allow him to gain time, but remember, the moment that he tags my bishop, let's go into that line just a little bit. Right? The moment that he tags my bishop in this particular instance, it starts climbing into my position very rudely. I'm going to have to start covering even more squares. And then I might have even more squares to have to cover. Such, and then it could escalate. There's something that my original test coach Paul called a snowball effect. And you may think this is just a little problem, but as this little problem gets rolling, it becomes a bigger and bigger and bigger problem. So try not to think that something is okay in a position, and it is exactly this that is going to propel you in Puzzle Streak and other things, because you're going to think you have a solution, but you must compel yourself to analyze deeper, check everything triply, quadruply, and toughly, whatever the case might be, and just make sure of absolutely everything that is going on in a position before anything bad happens. You really, really, really don't want to overlook anything or take anything for granted as much as your chess life depends on it. Oh, the music ended on that note. I thought that was very cool. But so here, for the most part, you do have to really consider what's going on, and I chose to place my bishop on c7, pawn on b6, bishop on b2, and only afterwards would I decide whether or not I wanted to reroute my knight to e5, to c6, to d4, or b4. Because I did feel like I could get something going here. Let's go back into the knight takes e5 line again. There are other problems at issue here. I don't have any time to continue taking because of my weak back rank in certain cases. I just don't like it. I could probably start exchanging now, but I just chose not to. I want all of my pieces coordinated. I don't want to take anything for granted, yada, yada, yada. So this particular position after the move, bishop takes e5. My opponent played rook on a to e1, and I'm just going to follow my plan. Bishop c7, knight e4, perfectly acceptable. I don't know what else I can suggest for him. He doesn't have h4, h5 because his knight is hanging. So either knight needs to go to this square. This rook seems like it could be misplaced. It should be on the f6 square. Again, possibly bishop to e4 should and could be better in this position. Try to limit my development. Maybe even try to park it on d7. Let's look at that for a moment. So he played bishop e4, and I played bishop to b6. Oh yeah, I do, but remember that my priority is not defending. In fact, I don't believe anyone should ever defend unless you absolutely have to. The only reason you have for defending is when it's the only move in the position. Everything after that, you should be attacking, placing your pieces more aggressively, and playing purposefully. Every single step of the way. So in this particular instance, I'm already in trouble on a number of fronts. I'm going to have to actually give up the control of the center. The knights are flying in. I have to move my knight. These squares could become weak to either knight. I don't know which is going to happen, but I don't want to find out the hard way. So therefore, had he played the move bishop to e4 instead of knight to I would have had to reconsider this position very carefully.
Hole E.
Probably
Said I get
here.
myself in trouble with attacks that go nowhere.
Yeah. That's another sign that you should probably not be trying to do something until everything is in arrears. So, for example, let's take the modern American family. They think about financial stability. They might buy the house with the nursery before they have the kids, right? And then in the old days, when you didn't really think so financially successfully, you just have the kids, or many people would just be making an impulsive mistake in having the kids, and then having to buy the house and doing everything afterwards, playing catch up. And it's a lot like that in a very similar sense now, to a great extent. So it is tricky that my opponent did not choose to move bishop to d4. We can compare it later. I haven't run the computer analysis on this particular study, nor have I shared this study yet, because during the tournament I didn't want to share it. Note that my opponent played h4 and h5, and I sped along with my development completely. So in this particular position, I just need primarily to batten down the hatches on the weakened squares and just keep him from achieving anything. Ringed. Followed me 18 hours ago. Thank you for the follow. I don't know how it works with the follower goal when people follow off stream. I don't know. Cheese mate, have you ever had any? Hats on for me 2 days ago. Uh-oh, I have to refund that one. I did not have my reward requests window open until today. During the tournament, I was going to message Ron that his hats off request was refunded one of these turns. Why doesn't it show up in the activity feed instead of the reward requests queue? A lot of things that Twitch could do a lot better. C'est la vie. Needless to say, my opponent plays h5 and I batten down the hatches on the dark squares. And this is going to be a very short game as my opponent attempts to improve his position. And now, for the first time in my in the game, I can actually consider rerouting my knight to better squares with knight to e5. My opponent went in for a smidgen of a think here, still trying to coordinate his pieces. He captures and then plays rook to d2. Candidate moves for black. Candidate moves for black in this position. Candidate moves for black. What to do? I have a number of choices. One in particular that was very appealing to me, which I did not go for because I am still in the opening. I could have started playing chess here, but I chose not to because I am still in the opening. So it should be one of your candidate moves, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be the move that you choose. Remember, you're gathering up all the good moves in this position. Knight moves, bishop moves, rook moves,
Hole E.
pawn moves.
Rxd3 F5.
Excellent. But what is our worst placed piece? What is our worst placed piece? Let me just see if I can create a command for this. Which? I think it's which. Where are the weaknesses? That's correct. Adcom. Which. And the question is, which are the buttons? And now you have to seek to improve that piece. Oh no, sorry to hear that. Let's see if I can get this. Move it down to 42.42 decibels. There we go. Could be that my mic is also not off. I had adjusted it. The travel streams are hitting this. Which are the worst? And of course, improving the workplace piece is not always enough. You might be able to unseat your opponent's best place piece. Unseat theirs. There we go. That of that command. Which are the best worst place pieces? Improve yours, unseat theirs.
Hole E. Said no road 4.
Exactly. Bingo. That's exactly the move that I played. And at the same time, we get to do the where. Where? Let's see if it's already here. Add com. Where? Where are the weaknesses?
Hole E.
Yep.
Said C4 is weak.
C4 is weak, and the E3 square is very weak. So the other move that you might have missed was knight to G4 as part of your tactics. So in this particular position, reaching that destination square of G3, of E3, is definitely in the cards in my mind. Definitely in the cards. Where are the weaknesses? And I'm going to put it at com where. Where are the weaknesses? Don't attack them. Definitely track them. Let's see, don't attack them. Don't necessarily attack them. But definitely track them. Alright, where? Now, note that if you attack more than one weakness, the idea of attacking two weaknesses is the basis of all tactics. Whether it's a pin with two items on a rank file or diagonal, a skewer with two pieces on a rank file or diagonal, a double attack with the help of a discovery by attacking one piece by discovering on another piece. All of those tactics require two weaknesses in the position. So therefore, you have to be able to pay attention to where. And in the next in particular game, I have to do the what. So here my opponent finally looks like he has absolutely gotten his everything in order, and this bishop is tied down, right? Bishop was a weakness, the rook was a weakness, the pawn on B2 is a weakness. Then I finally hit him with the concluding moves of the game, the first one being something that we already pointed out. And then lastly, in this particular position, candidates for black. Candidate moves for black. Not that difficult to come up with annoyances here. Somewhat important to pay attention to what the conglomerate of annoyances are. This seems to be a travel day for most of the Reykjavik players. Therefore, high, low. Converter. And if you wanted to splice a power cord, it looks like something like this. Something very similar. Let's see what that is. And lastly, an American power converter for European to American. Interestingly enough, seems to be it. I'm wondering if this is an Icelandic chrome. Oh, no, it's not. Very unusual. The thread left behind. Interesting. The lost souls of this drawer. I cannot do right now.
ZBF4 F5 B5.
And I think you already know which move is the best move of those three. So I've run this like a golf game, by the way. 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes. And the way Paul worked his candidate moves, Bishop F4 was the first stroke. The second stroke on a par 3 course was F5, and the third stroke, which would be par, if you really needed to dig deep, was Bishop E5. And of course, the maximum number of strokes on most miniature golf courses for kids is 6. So if you don't get it in 5 candidate moves, it's an automatic 6. So here, interestingly enough, we have Bishop F4. My opponent chose to give up the game at this point, as it turns out. It was very sad. While I use the facilities, I'm also going to show my game against Gerard Wim. I'm going to put this one on slow. I was black. I will cover these moves. Oh, no worries. Bishop F4 was definitely the move. I'm going to show my game from round 6 while I don't seem to have round 7 in here. Fascinating. I have to check that out. What happened to round 7? Oh, and we're back. Yes, I enjoyed this game immensely. By the way, in the Discord channel, there is a link to all of the games in the IRL tournaments feed, and as well as I've been posting the pictures in the IRL tournaments feed, as well as the videos. Some of the videos are too large to post, so I have to break them up into quadrants using Adobe. I may or may not do this weekend. We will have to determine that later.
Said hello there.
Said hello there. Nico, good morning. Welcome back, bud. I have to highly recommend this tournament. This is really, 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 really cool. So my opponent, for whatever reason, got very passive in this position, and I immediately started breaking down his king side, and I unfortunately had to go for a little bit more. So in this particular position, he could have played for more with queen f3, I believe, at least trying to soften my squares, trying to get in on other squares, but he chose just to play in this manner. And at this point, I think he gave up the game mentally. He didn't give it up physically, but he did give it up mentally. And I will be studying this game a little bit more specifically because he's losing his e5 pawn. He might be losing the b4 pawn. He chose to keep the b4 pawn, but then he also has problems with the rook and the knight on the back rank. So he throw the Zwischenzug in. The Zwischenzug is a move that you throw in between, just so that rather than playing the natural move, which was bishop takes to e5, I would have allowed him to extract his pieces off of the back rank. But now he actually has to do this.
Said I thought I was so hopelessly lost in a recent game that I missed mate in 2.
Oh no. Did you draw the game? Or did you already feel like your opponent was going to win? That is the question. Did you draw the game, or did you feel that your opponent was going to win? Sometimes when you have chosen the destination for the game...
Said no, I made a blunder and lost.
Oh, but you had, in your mind, made some sort of a concession that the game might be lost. By accepting this, sometimes... Is Ron here, by the way? Is he typing in the Lichess chat? Difficult position, but castles, king side.
Nikodonius. Said Paul 1e4
Oh.
still better than resigning in the position where you have mate in 2. The warrior. Said bye.
The warrior, how are you? Have a good night. Have a good day, the warrior. Sorry, I just got back from coffee. Who has mate in 2? What? Still better than residing in the position where you have mate in 2. That's right. Still much better than resigning, because that's it. But in a way, imagine my last round game where I'm a little bit better in the tournament and my opponent offers me a draw. The only reason why I accepted the draw was because that was the destination goal result for the game that I had set out to achieve. And it was very hard for me to shift my mindset toward playing for a win against the opponent. But grandmasters don't think they're going to lose, and grandmasters don't think that they're ever going to allow a draw. They're always playing for the possibility of winning the game. And that is what makes them better players than the average player. So in this particular instance, I'm setting about trying to achieve a Zugzwang. So here in this position, I have a much better move than the move that I played. Candidates for black. So what can we do? And why is our city skylines not working? Is it because our stream quality is lacking?
Nikodonius. Said Ra to F5 E5.
Hold on. I need to move this to the side somehow. Then I'll know what we're talking about.
Said kilogram 7 F5 E5.
Kilogram 7. Kilogram 7, F5 and E5, indeed. So Ra 2, F5,
Said
E5.
LTHE Warrior 72 redeems sub-bullet challenge time ticks 99.
You are a beast, sir.
Said kilograms.
Exactly, kg. If I don't have time today, Warrior 72, if I don't have time today, as much as I would love to, I do want to do the sub-bullet challenge. I'm doing the game review at the moment. I should change my stream title appropriately. Interestingly enough. Reykjavik open review. Updated. And now updated. The Reykjavik Open review. Basically, the move I should have played definitely was F5, which is featured in both of yours as a stroke 2. Stroke 2. And that way, if the move G4 occurs, then I can actually just continue with F4, F3, F2 with the... Instead, I played the rather unfortunate move at D5, allowing my opponent not just to bother my rook, but also to play the move G4. And I had completely overlooked my opponent's idea here. And here comes the what. Turn down for what?
Said I suggested kilogram 7 because I want to activate the king. The warrior.
Yeah, I think that's
Liches say error nanometer master chess dojo only accepts challenges from friends.
That's only because there is a follower limit of 400, and I am following all of my students.
E6 F5.
I can't follow any more people or friend any more people. You're only allowed 400 friends, and I have 350 students, more or less, minimum. Probably over 400 because the old ones that are no longer in the classroom are still being followed.
Said axed me.
The warrior.
Said only 400 friends.
Exactly. If I try to follow another person, that means that I have to unfollow another person. I am going to refund that bullet challenge. That way, we are in the clear as far as the acceptance on whether or not. If we can do it later, we will. Trying to figure out what's going on with the music, right? The problem with the Streamlabs app is that properties, I don't get it. Why did it stop? Very unusual. Right?
Hole E. Said sub-bullet when bullet is too slow for people.
Now there's a bullet challenge for followers, which is twice the price in channel points.
The warrior. Said Paul 1E4 redeems sub-bullet challenge time ticks 2000.
Did he? I do not see that in my reward requests.
The warrior. Said not me.
Oh. Did he? All right. But it shows that copy. This is what I see. That is what I saw. Sub bullet challenge, the warrior. By the way, Paul 1E4 does not do bullet. Neither do I usually. But I am willing to do it for entertainment purposes. The good news about bullet. So I fixed this pawn. This is another bad one. I agree with you that I should just be getting my king in and mating him.
The warrior. Said sub-bullet challenge the warrior 72 9H ago.
9 hours to get. So yeah, I played g5 to fix his pawns, and I didn't even see that his rook could escape. So now I followed up with another blunder.
The warrior. Said I see.
And we're going to do the add command what? Because we don't seem to have a turn down for what. Turn down for what? All right, add com. What? What is the opponent's however large or small? Always respect your opponents. All right. What is the opponent's big idea? All right. So now, what is the opponent's big idea? He is slowing down my pawns from moving forward. It's been very annoying. So he's also pinning my bishop to my pawn. That's kind of awkward. App Store. Dashboard. Is there any way that I can possibly get this thing to working? all widgets,
The
yada, yada,
warrior
yada.
said what?
What, indeed.
The warrior said
Apps.
Mubart always consider king safety in its position pawn structure and who has the better endgame piece placement harmony in the balance of material targets and weaknesses to be attacked as part of a greater plan.
Indeed. Platform Streamlabs.com wants to open this application. Let's do it over here. Installed. Open. Fascinating. Let's see, I'm just going to see shutdown source when not visible, refresh browser when scene becomes active. Refresh cache of current page.
The warrior said gift sub-gift icon 1 sub to take first.
Indeed. I don't know where I was. Oh, I did see where I was. In the App Store. We were on Adventure Dreams.
The warrior said, "Oh no, my sub end in 2 days."
Oh no, indeed. Don't worry, if we get enough followers, we will be gifting more subs. It's just that I'm in Reykjavik now, so it's just awkward timing. So here we are, right? I do want to get this thing going, so what am I going to do? I'm just going to improve my king position. Did I have a better move? Was bishop to c2 a better move?
The warrior said watch time.
Ah, yes.
Nicodomnios said bg2.
Yeah, bishop g2. Exactly. I don't know, I'm not getting a lot out of that, but I guess I am threatening to play d4, e4, and then bishop back to d5 perhaps, bishop c4. Exclam watch time. Exclam watch time. So meanwhile, I somewhat egged him on into this one. I gave him another checkup, didn't do anything. In fact, in this position, it almost did something. My opponent did almost play king to g3. And that would have been mate one. At Mubot sec. Alright. Be right back. So in any event, I did have to play this one out. Unfortunately, he's ruining my opportunity. And with the move, rook to a3, he completely overlooked my idea. He was just playing a natural move, and here, black to move, pretty much devastate white. The game ends here. as it turns out. As it turns out, I wouldn't play king to g3. I thought he was trolling me at the board because he picks up his king and he starts to put it on the g3 square, then he holds it in his hand forever and plays king e1. Could be time for more coffee in this particular position. Oops, candidates B for black. It's time for more coffee, or I should switch to an espresso. I'll be right back. B-R-B.
The warrior. ZBRB. Nikodonius. ZD4 Ra 2 KD6. Paul E. ZD4 D4 D4.
Good. As I was coming around the corner and I caught some over there. And it was, I'm like, what's going on? And then as I got closer, I realized it's so cute. All right, here we are, everybody. One more time. We still not have music, or did the music cut out? Monitor and output. Monitor off. Monitor and output. What is going on with this thing? I tell you. Refresh. Who knows what's going on here? Coffee indeed. What is that coffee icon? Really? The Alexandra coffee cup. I'm so jealous that she has a coffee cup emote. All right. I switched to an iced mocha espresso that I bought in the store. Oh, it's so good. Worth every penny. So here, if we did not get it, D4, 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 indeed. Kaboom. Ka-ching. D4, Rook A2 was definitely an option to try to see if he was going to stay in the passive zone by going up. It was definitely an option to play Rook A2. Because in this position, moving my rook across, playing bishop to e7 and threatening d4 differently with the idea of a mating net was definitely something that occurred to me. If you wish to play this candidate move game, you can actually turn this on to the top 3 moves in the position, and it does believe that rook to f2 and rook to d2 are the best moves. And in this particular position, d4, rook a2, and king d6. Dominica. F5. That did occur to me as well. F5 and then trying to fix the h3 pawn as a weakness. If he had not gone for this, that was my secondary plan, was to play for f5. I'd already tried to convert my king, but in this particular opponent, my opponent resigned the game. He literally did resign the game in his mind by capturing. And it was unfortunate that it was checked because I wanted to do another thing. Here I have an in-between move that I have to play in order to get my king out. I wanted to go after these weaknesses, stop the knight from retreating, and also slow the capture of my pawn on b5. So when I capture with check, I have a very big decision on my hand once again. I mean, there are only 3 moves that are in this position. King d7, rook g3, or rook d3. I chose to go after the only dangerous pawn that he has and have all of the pawns on one side of the board, limiting his movements and improving my king position as much as I could before continuing on the move. King to e5 is probably more to the point, but I actually wanted to set him up for some tactics which didn't work out. And as I got closer, he resigned the game once more, because now knight does not make it back into the game. And I drive him back. Trade. And he decided that he had seen enough and good endgame technique from me, but that was the move that was going to end it. So Marius Grom, I was white, and I was white in round 7 with a short draw, fortunately. I played knight c3 in round 5 as white. I played d4 in round 1.
Paul E.
Said
I
yes, down
played
2 pawns, it was hopeless.
Knight c3, d4, and I had only 1 more white to go. I played c4 in round 7. Therefore, my only moves remaining.
Said, have you ever played the cow opening?
You know, I'm still a little unclear on the cow's independent significance because it looks like the crab to me. I believe that the cow is H4, A4, E3, Bishop G2, E3, D3, and on G to E2 and knight to F2. Is that true? Is that the cow? I just need some confirmation on that. That did not last long enough. Is that the cow? I always knew that to be the crab.
Paul E.
Said the cow starts with E3 and D3, then ME second 2.
Okay, got it. Yep, so I had these two right. Probably one of the reasons why Super Grandmasters are Super Grandmasters better than other Grandmasters is that they've never played the cow in a serious tournament game. What do we think? In any event, my opponent actually plays D5, and I had to find out if my opponent was serious here. Therefore, I offered my opponent a draw in this position. On the next board, John Stark, man of the North, was playing the Karo Khan as well. And his opponent had played the advanced variation. It looked like John Stark had a very good answer. But needless to say, my opponent chooses knight c6 and I choose knight f3. Now, I have not yet proved a lot of this game with analysis. However, I do believe that Black's best winning chance in this position is not in the drawish bishop to g4 line, but in the move g6. This is an aggressive intent, and I had to decide what my choices would be in this particular position. So what am I to do here? Right? Let's consider it for a moment. Candidate moves for white. But once again, the music is cut out. I'm trying to determine what factor, feature.
Nikodonius.
Said not too late to play B4.
Not too late to play B4 and D for such a character. I wonder if that's realistic. I need that creativity, Nico. I need that creativity. For you, however, it's less creativity and more standard deviation. Doing game recaps now. Dragonburst congratulated me on getting 5 out of 7 points.
Paul E.
Said BD3 BG5 QC2.
Bishop D3,
Nikodonius.
Queen C2, and
Said,
D.
but honestly I have no idea B2 G3.
Well, what we do have to realize is that we are playing a terrace defense as Black. Basically, this is the standard starting point for the terrace defense with Black. I just wanted to bring up the Thank you, Nico, for the congratulations on finishing 27 places higher than I was expected. Just now catching up on some of the Discord
Twitch
messages.
Lalle.
Thanks for following.
Twitch Lale, how are you?
Paul E.
Said to Rash Defense, I don't know that D4 stuff.
There's no such thing as D4 stuff. That is just chess. Part of your chess education. This is something I was mentioning to some of the younger players here, Paul. 1E4. The drawbacks to the previous generation is that we learned to play one opening and one opening only, and this holdover is still being reiterated by coaches here, near and far, when in reality you need to complete your education across many openings. Absolutely must complete your education across many openings. That is, playing every single opening at least once, understanding the ideas, and then taking each of those ideas and transferring them across all of the openings.
Said I am very well, just having a break from work. How are you?
I am relaxing in Reykjavik. This is one of my, it's going to go in the travel streams playlist on YouTube. For those who have not yet subscribed to YouTube, good time for me to plug it as any. It'll go on the travel stream. You don't have to hit the subscribe button, obviously. I mean, you don't have to hit the notification bell. Check it whenever you see fit. There are a lot of channels that I subscribe to that I don't hit the notification bell. Everybody and their brother wants people to hit the notification bell, but I will be very happy to get my subscriptions over 500 at any day, at any point between now and summer. I will be uploading YouTube dedicated content from this tournament soon enough. I'm also going to be experimenting using Adobe and other things on thumbnails and whatnot for each of the streams. Where is the database games link? There it is. Reykjavik Open 2024 downloads. I'm going to open it up just to see what's in there. I'm very happy that they've got all of the games. I cannot upgrade the program now. But at least I can get the move order from my round 7 game. It looks like, I mean, they literally put all of the games into Lichess database, which is really great. So I'm happy to play in an event where my games are contributing to the overall knowledge of opening theory. And we will probably be doing Reykjavik quite a bit from here until dawn and dusk. And is round 9 in? Not yet. Round 9 is not in yet. But the games that are on the Lichess website are good. Brilliant, brilliant bulletin editor adding all of these games as often as he was. 110, let's see, MacArthur. Got it. Now that I have the game, we might be able to put round 7 in. For the most part. Let's do that. Enough on the Discord. Glad that I saw all of your messages. That's very cool. So here, my opponent played g6, and I went for bishop g5, as all of you predicted. And after the move bishop e6, I once again had to go in for a little bit of a critical think on how I was going to continue here. I'm going to put your candidate moves in on the bottom, by the way. So let me just go back 2 moves, and they were bishop d3, queen d2, queen c2, And bishop f5. Sorry, g5. And bishop e2. g3 for white. I fall 1e4. Let's just go back for a moment. I'm going to flip this board just to show you what the terrace looks like. But basically, the terrace is d4, d5, c4, e6, knight c3, c5. This is absolutely an opening that you should be playing as black, Paul 1e4. You are going to enjoy this opening. You can lose a pawn anytime you feel like in this opening, and you will have tremendous amounts of play. And white's best option here is to isolate this pawn and then to try to go after it with a bishop on g2. So usually white solidifies the center, black attacks, and then white plays
Said
g3.
I always play nf6 against d4.
That's okay. I don't blame you. At least that way you have an anti-London option. But playing the terrace is very useful to know, because when you play knight f6 on move 1, white can play some passive systems where this fighting against the center will prevail, and you will reach the same types of positions as knight f6 in many cases. Basically, I've used the terrace defense, and the terrace defense is a foundation for all of the other defenses against queen pawn openings. Basically, let's just go back in time here for a moment. Rubinstein basically refuted the Queen's Gambit with the terrace. For less than or approximately a decade, Siegbert Tarrasch refuted queen pawn openings, and nobody really wanted to play queen pawn openings because white was defending these positions. White was struggling. The famous games are Cohn Rubinstein and Rottlevi Rubinstein. Rubinstein just literally set people ablaze on the black side of this opening. There were some Capablanca Marshall encounters. But then Rubinstein himself, who played this position to much great acclaim, was the first person to come up with its refutation, isolating the pawn on d5, creating a target, and then holding the square d4, and then identifying the target on e5, on d5 as a weakness, and putting the terrace defense under a cloud until Garry Kasparov championed it to become world champion. And then it fell under a cloud again as Garry Kasparov was unable to use it against Karpov in 1984. And then in the current era, Magnus Carlsen and Daniel Dubov are also champions of this particular opening. So it's come full circle. Needless to say, this particular instance, this is the position that we need to know. You can already tell what's going on here, right? But white is a tempo up. Now, flipping the board, we have our Caro-Kann, and we have the same position with colors reversed. So what is white and what is black is inconsequential, but for one tempo, one half of a move. And because it's my turn to move and I'm playing the terrace, I'm going to attempt to cripple the black pawn structure, achieve a 3-pawn to 2-pawn majority on the queen side, and I'm going to just shove the best I can. Just shove, shove, shove. And I'm going to hopefully accomplish a great deal. Let's see, it's noon for me. It must be 2 o'clock in the afternoon for Nico. I hope you're doing well, Nico. How's the family? Hope all is well. I'm assuming it's 2 o'clock. So, what to do in this particular position as white.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said Paul 1E4. Funny you say that. Last night I had a league match against someone who plays the trompe and toure attack against one NF6, so I played the Chagoran to start with a psychological edge. I won the game against him for the first time in 4 previous encounters.
You answered d4 with d5.
Said 3 actually.
Oh, 3 hours. Wait a minute. Are you back in St. Petersburg? Is that the story? That might be the case.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said yeah, and after his NF3 waiting move I played NC6 and he had a long think.
Nicodonius.
Said yeep.
It's also a good strategy for people that like to play the London to a certain extent as well. I like to play Pachmann's bishop g4 move with no knight on f3, d4, d5, bishop f4, bishop g4. Morozevich has actually played that on a couple of occasions, and now white can no longer play the move d3 followed by bishop e3 followed by bishop d3. But Arsenal fan Richie, yeah, I hadn't registered that you'd moved back to St. Petersburg. So meanwhile, where am I? Oh yeah, AFR. That's what I was doing. Throwing out the shout out for AFR.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said yes, exactly my thinking. It's amazing how these things can have an impact mentally.
You are thinking like a professional, and that is what it takes. You can't just play openings. You have to play chess. Playing chess means getting something going against an opponent. You're competing against the guy across the board as much as you are against the problem, against the moves on the board that they are playing. That's very cool. I hope all of your previous encounters weren't entirely devastating. I hope they were actually reasonable, but you got a psychological edge on him for the first time in 4 encounters. Oh, I'm hoping you didn't lose every game. That's what I should say. So I went for bishop to b4.
Said no,
5.
Fortunately 3 straight draws. Very interesting games. I lost our first match. He outplayed me. I was fresh at that point.
Wow. But now you really schooled him, so you leveled the score, and you're ready to take the lead in the match in game 6. I predict that you will play. Hold. Steady. Where's my game score? 1 second. My opponent's name is Hu Zenning. I was white. MacArthur.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said looking forward to your analysis. Wanted to catch your games. I am sure they were very strategically engaging.
Always. I was very lucky this tournament that not only was I strategically aware, but I was also, as Ron Hay jinxed me yesterday, tactically swift this tournament for the most part. I was like almost fresh. A year ago, MD Knight Zero and I played in a tournament, or was it 2 years ago now? I think it might have been 2 years ago now, but I think it was a year ago. I played in a tournament in Massachusetts with MD Knight Zero.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said that's impressive, especially for such a long tournament.
Yeah, it was a game 60 a year or 2 back with MD Knight Zero in Massachusetts. I'm trying to remember the name of the place that we played. But I played 4 games, and I played almost carelessly and carefree like I do on stream. And even though I was doing okay in the games, I managed to lose two of the four, I believe I drew one of the games and won only one of the games. And I really felt out of it. And I didn't feel like playing ever again because I enjoy playing chess so much. My opponent's name was Hu Zenning. I got to meet his mother at the closing ceremony. It was quite lovely. This was round 7, and it was the Reykjavik Open 2020. So interestingly enough, I think you are ready for game 6. C4, I can actually put this away for a moment. C4, I'll turn on the opening book. C4, my opponent actually answered with E6. I believe he knew that I had prepared for him. I actually was even going to consult with Ivanchuk before the game because Ivanchuk was analyzing with us, very low patzers to a certain extent, and he was contributing some very interesting ideas, and he's such a nice guy. But I did not approach him with it. What do we have here?
Arsenal Fenrici.
G4.
Said, did you transpose into the QGD?
Alexandra C4. All right, that's it. I'm going to make sure that I have my subscribe. I did, actually. I played knight C3, and I did it just like Fischer, Spassky, 1972, game 6. I went for it in this respect, and after knight f6, I went immediately for the exchange variation, which yields the best and quietest and most solid results. And after bishop g5, my opponent answered with bishop e7 first. I was worried that he was going to give me some play against h7 with an exchange and bringing my queen in if he doesn't play c6, but indeed.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said, yeah, very lasting edge and still kingside attack potential.
Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot. This is probably my go-to quite a bit. Now again, I played the move queen to c2 on the 7th move rather than bishop d3. They may look equal in engine strength, but I feel, as is reflected here in the master strength score, 38% to 36%, that this one is more effective. My opponent played castles. And after bishop to d3, we're headed for very normal knight on g to e2. This is the first time I'm seeing this game since it was played, interestingly enough. My opponent played rook to e8. I castled, and after knight f8, I did not play the move f3 here, which is what I should have played. Instead, I went for the second most popular and what I thought, 46%, the far more effective rook on a to b1. Now, I didn't actually achieve anything here. My opponent did play a5. We're playing the top engine lines for both sides. I played a3. He played g6. I played b4.
Said he locked down b4, I guess.
Yep. So far, we have been playing the number 1 moves for both sides, but here he varied with knight to e6. And I had a choice between bishop takes f6 and bishop h4. Those are my only 2 real choices. I chose bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, and knight a4. This looks like it's headed down a very, very treacherous path. However, my opponent varies here, which we're going to go to the Lichess database. The Lichess user database plays his move, which is a takes b4, a takes b4, and b5.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said, may I ask if there is an issue with b5 after bx f6?
Yes. 1 second. Go back to where we were. I'm going to turn off the engines so that I can see it. So after bishop takes f6, let's just take a quick peek at this. You know, I didn't really consider this move. Why did I not consider this move? I think I just wanted to keep my structure sound and solid. Why didn't I consider this move? Maybe I thought he would play c5.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said c5. I guess nx c5 could be a problem.
Yeah, I don't want him playing c4. So this was a drawback that I definitely was considering, that if I ever allow him to play c5, he could play c4, and then allowing knight takes c5 also kills my
Arsenal
white squared bishop.
Fenrici.
Said, but I suppose you have na4 if nx c5.
Aren't I losing to bishop f5 after the capture, unfortunately? I don't know if I'm losing. This looks very awkward. My rook on b1 was just poorly placed. I had this happen to me more than
Arsenal
once.
Fenrici.
No, my rook on b1 and is just poorly placed, especially against this g6 system. I was very, very bothered by this possibility. Sort of a rude awakening, yeah? So needless to say, the game was rather uneventful as I encountered him playing the move. As we saw in the lead chess database. b5. Now this is two strong players playing this particular line. White somehow pipped him at the post. But after knight takes c5.
Said I don't like b5.
I wasn't sure what to do about it. But basically, after the move, knight takes c5, queen takes c5, bishop d7, rook to a1, bishop e7, queen to c3, queen to b6, rook on f to b1. I offered my opponent a draw, as I did not really see very clearly the strategic plan that I would like in this position. I just didn't see it. Sort of everything coming off the board and reaching a position where my pawn on b4 is a much greater weakness than his pawn on c6. I just didn't want to be tied down to this at all. I'm going to check the engine preference. It says it's 00. 00 status has been achieved. But was my move terrible? No, it's probably been 00 for a while. Bishop f6. And b5, c5, queen a2. Fascinating. b5, c5, queen to
Paul
a2.
E.
Said, did he take the...
He did. He did. I sort of read him like a poker player, as well as the previous player, as well as my current player. Wait till you see what I do to my current player, Marius Grom. That's something, a sight to behold. Interestingly enough, we've reached this position, right? We talked about this being a terrace reversed. But black could even be slightly better there, as you already saw. He's got a couple notches in his belt already. So here,
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said, I think after b5 he is probably playing for a draw tbh, even if it is the engine move. Black has too big a liability to push his pieces for activity.
yeah.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said, where did he leave prep?
Where did which one leave prep? The previous game never actually left any prep. He had not played that opening before, to my knowledge. I believe that both my 7th and 9th round opponents actually studied me and decided that they were just going to go into these headlong variations. This player in particular knew that I played the Caro-Kann.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said Theory Monkeys SMH.
Yeah, I didn't do that much preparation. I looked at perhaps their first move and then just had this overall idea. Much like when we all play together, we all are somewhat familiar with each other's games, and we're quite happy with just knowing that much. Man, I'm having a wave of tiredness. I may need to take a nap before I go to the hat store with the cheese mate who's here in Reykjavik, along with Grand Mistress Iron. Lula Robs went back this morning at 4 a.m. Matt Payne and the other Matthew with the hair, if you see them in our pictures.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said oh nice say Aaron from Arsenal.
Oh, I will.
Arsenal fan Richie.
She
Said
is.
and I run she essay sweetie.
She is. Yeah, we were talking. I feel for her. She's going through a lot. I don't want to talk about it too much, but I've lost too many people to cancer myself in the past few years. And now another friend of mine, not to mention knowing that a streamer such as a nice person such as Grandmaster Siren has to deal with it. It's
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said I think with her approach nothing can defeat her.
there you go. There you go. I just wish I could help her with her mindset a little bit, because in a way I sense that there's a certain amount of acceptance. I don't believe in acceptance of circumstances sometimes. I like to believe that you fight, fight, fight. And that's possible with certain things you just can't fight. But we all want to believe it's possible. Needless to say, I castled, and I did so rather carelessly. Absolutely carelessly. I'm going to run down here and get the full computer analysis of the game while we're reviewing, just to see what's going on. But yeah, I believe a better
Said
move
should you
was
chop on
h3.
c6 and play b4.
Oh yeah, I could also do that now. Absolutely. I could also do that straight away, and that's probably an option. I was only concerned about how far behind in time I would be if they threatened to play rook e8 check. I would need to castle,
Said BRB.
and then
Said
there's
maybe
pressure.
bf5 is annoying.
But yeah, I don't have any real options of playing bishop rook on a to b1 in this position. But certainly from now on, I will be playing this position like that. All right, Paul, we'll wait for you. I need to get another coffee, but this is tough. Arsenal fan Richie. I should add the members here, honestly. I've been adding members as people have been discussing it.
Said fascinating position.
What is Nico Demonius's lead chess name? What is Nico Demonius's username?
Pegasus SVE.
Said hi.
How are you doing, Ron? I noticed your notes in the lead chess chat. It helps if you give the game reference. Silly. You can't just say difficult position, but castle's kingside.
Said it is the same.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Oh, I'm probably
Said
spelling it wrong.
Nicodonius.
Said Nico Demonius.
All right, I'm going to add
Arsenal
you.
fan Richie.
Said hi Nico.
Nicodonius.
Said hey there.
Oh, not that guy. 1 second. Oh, and I'm supposed to have a lesson today. Now that it's 8 a.m. in New York, I should check in, make sure that I do not have a lesson just now. Did that work? I don't think it worked. Add members. I think you might have settings that don't let me see you. Oh, there you are. I don't know how many members are limited. I think it's 30. So at some point it's going to run out. So needless to say, oh no, made a chapter called Nico Demonius. That was the problem. Sorry, Nico. So where were we in this particular endeavor? No, it's only 9 rounds. I actually did think that it used to be 11 at one time.
KHI.
Said hello.
KHI, how are you? So here, yeah, I believe H3 could have been more precise, but I wanted to get my defenses for the one weakness in my position, D4, ready. And I did do that here for the most part. I defend, he attacks, I defend. I did a long think in this particular variation. I didn't want my rook passively placed on the B1 square. I could sense. Yeah, but
Said maybe I'll be one here.
But putting a rook in such a passive spot behind a pawn when I want to move it, and I could also play the move B3, but then there are these random tactics. Black's next move is going to be rook to B4, and there will be 2 weaknesses.
I am from Twitch.
You're from Twitch. Nice. Thank you for the YouTube. By the way, for those of you, the YouTube has better resolution much of the time than the...
Said I know what you mean, but B4 B5 is the thematic advance and you always have ideas of NA4 if A5 locking down B4.
Yeah. And probably have already missed the boat on that one. But he's going to play rook to B3. If I ever try to play A3 to evict his rook. So my analysis went something along the lines of, I need to defend this pawn. And let's just assume that I can't play queen to D3, interestingly enough. I'm going to have to defend that pawn. In another way.
72.
Now I'm going to have to defend the pawn again. And then rook E4 is coming into play.
Said, oh, I see that's very awkward.
No, he's got a gazillion attackers on this pawn.
Said maybe NE2.
No, it's all about, so I'll run through my thought process here before I decided upon rook to D2, which he also thought was strange. I basically went through the thought process of how to coordinate my pieces in a way that I could easily shift over or back to the B file or slowly shift my forces to an occupation of E5 by the knight. So I came up with this plan. To get to E5, I also wanted to be able to shift the rook over to the E file at some point in the near future, and you'll see all of these things happen in the game. I also wanted to be able to play B3 later, protect that pawn,
Said him the warrior 72.
and then play A3 and B4.
Said I like NE2 as well because QA3
is an idea. So on knight E2, rook to B4, everything is covered. In the game, he played along these lines, and my queen could be out of the loop. I'm still going to need to play.
Said lol. Said road 3. Said I am KHI. Said OE2 is hanging. Said
Yeah.
Yoha.
Yeah. No, I really I don't know if it was a 9-minute thing without
in
having my
Alphen
score
Ritchie.
sheet with me.
Said maybe RB3 is RXB2.
Yeah. Rook B3. Rook takes B3, A takes B3. My D4 pawn is still going to be hanging ultimately after
in
Rook
Alphen
E8,
Ritchie.
attacking the knight.
Said and you win back the A7 pawn.
No, I don't think I do. I think I lose the D4 and C5 pawns. The
The
Rook E8.
warrior.
Said Arsenal fan Richie RB2 is made.
So let's see it. What was the line? That was knight E2. I actually considered knight
in
A4
Alphen
more.
Ritchie.
Said typo the warrior 72.
So in this position,
Pegasus SWE.
Said road.
and then the knight is hanging. And it gets worse with queen to b5, by the way. These things did happen in the game. Not with this exchange of weaknesses, but this did happen in the game. And it's very awkward. Queen to a6 with an x-ray defense as well, but that doesn't stop the loss of the pawn. So for example, let's go further with king 2. And then I try for the x-ray defense with all the weaknesses still hanging.
The warrior.
Said blunders.
The warrior.
Said Arsenal fan Richie blunder.
I can't play there right away. It just seems very sketchy in this position.
in Alphen Ritchie.
Said the warrior 72. Maybe we can TL play using Stockfish 24/7.
What happened? I don't think the warrior is using
warrior.
Stockfish.
Said I am blunder M.
Let's see. E2 it is. I am king h1. No worries. Thank you, Ars. Thank you for the sub on YouTube. Excellent. So meanwhile, what to do about this? That's got to be taken off the
in
cards.
Alphen Ritchie.
Said this is insane. Where did
I know, right? Well, it came from knight e2, and my knight is very passive. All right, let's do one more thing in this position that I want you to understand my mindset anyway. Pawns, guard, pieces. Pieces do not guard pawns. That's all there is to it. Pawns are supposed to guard the pieces. So I'm not in this position playing knight to e2 to guard a pawn with a knight. I don't have a future for my knight just yet. There are two pieces in the way. I couldn't bring myself to play knight e2 when my preference is to play knight a4. That's the first thing, because I am expecting him to play a5.
Said I am losing to a 300.
in Alphen
You're not
Ritchie.
losing to a 300.
Said do you think that maybe the concept of defending d4 in the first place was incorrect, then maybe white should shift focus towards c6?
Yes. I'll tell you what was wrong with my mindset in this game. My mindset in this game started on move 5 when I offered a draw because I wanted to finish the tournament with a positive result.
The warrior.
Said on Chesscom.
Yeah, but you're not losing to a 300. You're losing to yourself. Nobody ever
The
loses
warrior.
to opponents. They
Said
lose to
chess.com.
themselves. It doesn't matter what their ratings are. You're playing badly. It doesn't matter what your opponent's rating are. And it does not matter who your opponent is.
Arsenal-fan Richie.
Said feels bad the Warrior 72 IVE lost to plenty of much lower rated players, don't you worry.
Yeah, indeed. Plus, I hope you're not paying for chess.com. That's all I can say. If you're not paying for chess.com, it makes it a lot better. If you are paying for chess.com, imagine all of those dollars going for anti-cheating measures. That's all you need to know. All of those dollars going for those anti-cheating measures, because I lose to 300s on chess.com too. There you are.
The Warrior.
Very strong.
Said what?
Paul E.
Said I went 2-5 against 1200s in my last tournament.
Oh yeah. Oh, we have to work on this, Paul 184. By the way, Paul's birthday is tomorrow. Velcro Dot's birthday is tomorrow. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do the birthday stream on his birthday with Paul, but we're going to try to figure it out.
Said Arsenal fan Richie,
Well, I'm going
I
to give him a
lost
lesson
today to someone
anyway.
400 points lower than me in 6 moves today.
In 6 moves. Let me guess, it was B4. No, it wasn't a B4 opening. Queen to D5.
Said make an arena in chess.com.
Nicodonius.
Said nah, I was black.
Yeah, I know. It's even easier when you're black. So here's my goal. Let's just bear with me for a little bit as we get his look at his bishop was not supposed to go there. He's already helping me out. This was a psychological move, Arsenal fan, that I actually thought that he might take the time to try to keep me from putting a rook on c1 as well as bothering my rook on d2 in advance. And I just couldn't understand this move at all. I mean, it's acceptable. It is actually quite good. But I just didn't register it as being a good move. So I put my rook on an open file. Obviously, rook to c2 could be better. There was a shade of difference between them. And now I get to put my rook on d1. I get to put my... I have to promote this variation.
Arsenal-fan Richie.
Said QD3 now I guess.
Yep, queen to d3 is forced. And now he puts pressure on that one. Notice that I'm taking care of all of my stuff. And once I get rid of all of my weaknesses, I will only have one weakness, and then I can relocate my knight to go after his weakness. So basically, I'm consolidating my position as best I can. My opponent is a German master. He's very strong. He could repeat the position, but he's already indicated that he doesn't want to do that. So he plays queen to e7. And then I played the rather circumspect queen to a6. And this is where Ron complimenting me.
The Warrior.
Said Mubat, do you play chess?
I've not heard that many people have a conversation with Mubat before. I guess if somebody should talk to Mubat. Mubat never has anyone talking to him. I believe he does play chess, but in other streams. Believe it or not, this is going to be candidates for black. Well, I take it really quick.
Arsenal-fan Richie.
Said can black play bxd4 here?
Now, I put down the equal sign on that move, but I think that it is not equal anymore.
The Warrior.
Oh, did I put
Said
down
Nightbot, do you play chess?
Did I just put that equal sign down with A letter.
Pegasus SWE.
Wait.
Said if
Shift.
RAV1 RB4 N2 perhaps B3 A3 and B4.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said with the idea of QE1 KH2 QE5 picking the material back up.
I'll have to slow this down.
Said BXD4 seems promising, yes.
The Warrior.
I think my computer's way behind.
Said Stream Elements, do you play chess?
Hold on here. Shift exclam takes away the equal sign. Shift exclam takes away the equal sign. Interesting. Let's take a quick peek at this, everybody. So this is
Paul E.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Said
6.
BH6 QH4 QF6.
And then this is shift, 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 shift. But I wonder if it goes all the way through. And this might be shift control. Let's check this out. Shift 1 is equal. Shift 2 is unclear. 3. Holding on the shift key, 7 and 8. There's no 9. All right. So I had to get rid of that shift. Now let's try the control key.
Arsenal
Go 1.
Fenrici.
Shift control. Shift.
Said BXD
All.
QE1 KH2 QE5 G3 QXD4 QXC6. Maybe the D5 pawn is powerful but not sure.
It is in favor of black.
Paul E.
Absolutely.
Said BH6 QC7 QD7.
The Warrior.
It's magic.
Said howyouheavechess.com pieces on lichess.org.
It is magic. And I have it just to please all of the cheese.com people.
Nicodonius.
Said Arsenal Fanrici QXC6 and not QXA7.
No, you need the passed pawn on C5 to be protected. And able to
The
move
Warrior.
forward.
Said
I don't know. Let's just see if I can figure it out.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Exclam Lichess.
Said Nicodemonius, yeah, just cause C5 is so weak and black has a connected passed pawn if QXA7 IMO.
Enhance. Nope. I don't know how to get you that one, but I do think that in the
Said
Discord
the Warrior
channel.
72, as far as I know, all chess sites use the same set of pieces.
No, this is a Lichess enhancement link. I'm also using.
Nicodonius.
Said 2 rooks, 2 bishops, 2 knights, 8 pawns, 1 queen and 1 king.
Nicodonius.
Said 2 sets.
1 black, 1
Nicodonius.
white. 2.
Said 1 black, 1 white.
Nico, you are trolling so hard, that poor guy, the warrior. I'm using a chessclub.com board, Blitzen. I'm using a Blitzen board and chess.com pieces on Lichess. I have the best of both worlds. I absolutely love the ICC board. I do. I love the ICC board. It's so great. I don't know how to share this Lichess enhancement at all. I know that there is a command for it. If I can figure it out, I would help you. But the Chrome extension is this one for anybody who's interested. So I would copy that one and link it into the Chrome extension, and you can actually have the ICC board. So yeah, indeed. The D4 pawn could be hanging, but white does not have to take back just because black captures. So as a result, I have to give this move a little dubious. But it was very convincing because I played the move with authority and then knocked over my king when I played this move. Ooh. Yeah, the main line of that variation is here.
Arsenal Fenrir.
Said I.
Hold on here. I hit 2200.com recently. Feels like Lichess cheating got so out of control that Lichess ratings and .com ratings are the same now. When Lichess was a couple hundred points inflated just a year back. So you're saying that my rating on chess.com should actually be able to reach, but my rating remains the same. I'm very steady and true to it, but for years I could not get past 1800 or 1900 on chess.com. And so you're saying that I may be able to reach 2100.
Said the same on both sites.
You are the same on both sites, but I am not because I just don't play on chess.com. That's part of the reason. But the other part of the reason was that I was so discouraged from playing on chess.com that I just couldn't do it. So queen takes. The problem here is the rook, right? I think I have to go back. And maybe you're right. Maybe I do need to take on this square.
Arsenal Fenrir.
Said yeah, I used to be the same. I find it arguably worse on Lichess now. Sadly they've really hurt the platform.
Arsenal Fenrir.
Said very rare to get refunds on LCIS now.
That's true, but I haven't necessarily had, ironically, well, I can't judge by this week, but I haven't had any suspect players. But obviously, we're in a closed environment. Arsenal fan and everyone else, we play amongst our own community so regularly that I don't experience the general population of Lichess.
The Warrior.
Said bro.
Bruh. Yeah, it is better to play Queen F1. But I don't like it. It's definitely in the favor of the other player. Dubious. My opponent played queen to c7, defending the pawn. And if this were an arm wrestling match, basically I broke his wrist with queen a6. And he did not look very long at the move. Rook takes d4 or any other possibility. He just assumed that the pawn was defended. He did not look very tactically at anything. But still, it's better for black. So king f1 was played. I'll give this move an exclam because the computer does not necessarily see it. The reason I love to give it an exclamation mark is because
Arsenal Fenrir.
I was a little worried about my queen being binded in, actually. Take a look at this. Black has rook to b5, and I'm not sure how I'm going to continue to make progress. Wow. Alexandra. Am I a subscriber?
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said NC3 rep.
NC3 rep? Yeah, I mean, my problem was that I set the destination for this final game in the Reykjavik Open as a draw, and I had a hard time losing that mindset to play for more. And that is true. That there could be trouble brewing, though. There could be a wee bit of trouble brewing here. I'm not sure that I like it. Queen e8, bishop f8, maybe. There were other thoughts that were haunting me with queen to f4 as well, but at least I get to drive his bishop back to the first rank. So here, king f8, maybe queen f4 first. Ooh. In any event, I liked my plan so much that it definitely, well, not that one. I didn't like this part of the plan. But basically, instead of knight a4, knight e2, uh-oh, let's find our game score. Where is our game score? Queen a6, queen c7. This is our game score. I'll bring it up. So here, after h5, I played knight e2. Now, bear with me. There's a really cool tactic coming up, and my calculating skills enabled a surprise. This knight is going to land on g5. I saw my d4 pawn possibly falling, and I relied on the move in question. When he plays rook to e4, I get to play knight to g5 with the idea of rook to e8 check, winning anything on the d4 square because the bishop has to move back. I don't remember how this variation came about in a different line, but my opponent enables it for me. So basically, he's getting into some massive time pressure now where he doesn't have anywhere to go. I keep bothering him. He wants to avoid the draw. I repeat my position. He has to come up with another plan. And now I complete my piece relocation from knight, 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 knight. And remember, I also want to be able to go to e5. But there's an added bonus in a tactic on g5. I really
Arsenal
did.
fan Richie.
Said what is the time situation at this point?
I've got about an hour on my clock, and he has, let me just see what move number it is. He has about 10 minutes for 10 moves. He has to make 11 moves in the next 10 minutes.
Arsenal fan Richie.
Said oh, excellent.
I did note that when we were reaching move 30, that I thought the time control was 30 moves in 90 minutes. So I walked up to the tournament desk, and this was around move 28 or 29, which is here. He was tanking a lot, and he went all the way down. He used every ounce of his time control, and when he reached move number 40, it was 40 moves in 90 minutes. When he reached the 40th move, like here we are, right? Now he's threatening mate in some cases on the back rank, and he's actually threatening to load the cannon in these positions. And believe it or not, when he loads the cannon, he might even be able to play the move bishop to d2 in some case. So I was really, really bothered by this. So I decided to
Arsenal
Said ne5.
well, yeah, but I didn't want him to sack the exchange back. I actually felt that he could sack the exchange, play bishop f8, and start pressuring my c5 pawn and get this thing moving as well. So I wasn't entirely sure if that was what I wanted to do. And when I played the move a3 to start a progressive plan towards
Arsenal
something,
Richie.
Said perhaps yeah.
The Warrior.
what does a3
Said
do?
what a3 dos.
I'm playing b4, b5, and I'm going to try to achieve a passed pawn. So queen to b7. I decoy him just a little bit.
Said
He plays his bishop back. I challenge this rook. And here we are. By a miracle, I get my move in. So Rushi, hold on, I'm drawing a blank on this. Rusa.
Said
Rusa
rook
chess.
b7.
Yeah, but Rusa chess, remember the streamer Rusa chess? I can't think of how to spell her name right now.
Said no now.
Not now. But she's playing on the board to my right.
Said no.
The Warrior.
Said not now.
Rusa chess, Indian streamer, WIM, or I don't know if I don't think she was a WGM. She's sitting 2 boards to my right.
Howl E.
Said I remember her. She hasn't streamed much lately.
I talked to her about it. She's given up streaming apparently.
Arsenal Richie.
Said oh yeah, very pretty.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. So I talked to her a bit, and she said she'd given up streaming for the most part, and she's working on her own chess and her own stuff. But here, I got to play the move knight to b5, and I got up to walk away.
Said Arsenal fan Richie wow.
So I play knight to b5, and she looks to her left, and she sees what I did, and she sort of stands up to figure out why I'm hanging this pawn on d4, which he's been playing for the whole game. And I managed to lock down.
Said debut spam the.
I need to get the Warrior a better keyboard.
Said oh sneaky mate.
Oh, it's not a mate. It's just a deflection of the bishop so that I can win a full rook. Basically. This way I just get to win a full rook. Now, interestingly enough, I had miscalculated this well in advance. I'm going to tell you what my miscalculation was well in advance. When I calculated this well in advance, I thought that I was going to be playing rook to e8 check.
Have nh7.
Howl E.
Said did your opponent see this?
Yeah, but it's just a trade of pieces. I also have that, but to trade the minor pieces. No, my opponent saw it when I played it. He saw it now. And he's in his time pressure, right? So he's got his 10 moves to make. What move number is it? Yeah, it's move 36. So I hit him at just the right moment to Cheng. I just slapped him, and he's got like 2 minutes to 3 minutes left on his clock to make 4 moves. And he's sitting here. And no, but so here's my hallucination that I had when I was calculating at whatever moment before when I saw this variation, when I came up with this idea.
Probably not the worst exchange sack if re7.
Right. So where were we? Oh yeah. I actually told him that he has rook e7. He can sack the exchange. But I wanted the added pressure of me walking away from the board at the same time that he has 3 minutes to make 10 moves. And after the game, apparently he didn't see any exchange sack possibility at all. He didn't see that Then I was concerned about him taking on e5, nor leaving the rook on e4, just stuffing me with rook e4 and backing up and correcting his pawn and getting everybody moving. I'm like, dude, I have such a passive position. I only have one plan. It may not be enough if you sack the
Arsenal
exchange.
fan Ritchie.
Said typical German too fixated on dogmatic rules.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I did tell him that Petrosian was my guy. And so here's my thing that I thought I was going to have to do. I actually saw this position. I saw this position as being okay for me because I had planned on checking and going after the c6 pawn. This was the original calculation that I made. Before I did all the pseudo candidate move processes along the way, I did make that calculation. But then, of course, when the position came closer, I realized that not only do I have knight to g5 giving up this pawn, but I have the rook to e8 check in this particular position, which I didn't have before.
Nico de Unius.
Said you messed up your move order.
Granted, it was about 5 or 6 moves earlier.
Said can he play a5 after rc8 and play for f2 weakness?
Yeah, I was definitely worried, but he only has one thought there. And I'm going to try to get this pawn moving as fast as possible. Let's look at that one again, as Arsenal fan was pointing out.
Nico de Unius.
Said if rxd4 you go for e8 before going for rxd4.
If we get killed,
6
we'll be
raiders
lost in
from
limbo till our brains start to
Cameron
scramble.
Gino Gioches.
Cameron Gino chess.
Arsenal fan
Namaste.
Ritchie.
said true that S probably losing.
Namaste. How are you? I apologize for the Streamlabs alerts overriding
hey.
my camera and other things, but
Cameron Gino Gioches.
Cameron.
Said I am well, sir. How are you?
I'm going to cross my fingers I spelled this right the first time. Nope, I did not spell it right the first time. I have to look. Ah, Ginocchio. Cameron Ginocchio chess. Got it. Thank you. I assume that there may be some Italian in you. Let's try this again. Cameron. Ginocchio chess.
Minko Alaf Chess.
I love it. How was your
Said
stream?
Master Chess Dojo, can we have mate later?
Nico de Unius.
Said seriously rxd4 re8 bf8 rxd4 and you are up a rook no.
I still botched it up. Hold
Cameron
on.
Gino Gioches.
I need to copy this.
Said there is I think I found your channel from maybe the Chess Sharks stream.
Really?
Cameron Gino Gioches.
Said Minko I love chess. Yes, absolutely, we can play later.
Cameron Gino Gioches.
All right.
Said stream was great, played some viewers, got to take off now, hope you have a good stream.
Thank you. We just finished our
Cameron Gino
Reykjavik
Gioches.
Open.
Said you were chatting somewhere, can't remember if it was there or somewhere else.
Yeah, I basically
Cameron
have been in a
Gino
lot of
Gioches.
streams.
Said or maybe it was a raid, can't remember by y'all.
Cameron Gino Chess, I'm going to follow you just now so that I can check in on you later. Thank you, Cameron Gino Chess, for the raid. I did not realize perhaps that you were a streamer at the time, but that's great. Your next upcoming stream is March 26th. That was cool. Do you notice that when I followed
As
you,
in
it gave me
Alfenrici.
a little
Said take
notification?
care, have a nice day, Cameron Enochiochis.
The warrior.
Said
Uh-oh.
SRY.
It gave me a little notification on when your next stream is, which I thought was very, very cool. Going back up there to see if I can see that one
Minko
again.
Alaf Chess.
Said brilliant, made by Mikhail Tal.
It's true, I
Cameron
can't remember it myself.
Said that's pretty cool. I didn't know that I'll be streaming later this evening as well, around maybe 5 p.m. Central Time. Until then and finally again, lol, goodbye, have a great stream.
Yeah, I actually edited my stream schedule. When you have a stream schedule that you may or may not have edited in Streamlabs or in Twitch at some point, and that's the one that
As
showed
in
up. I
Alfenrici.
had to edit it to delete
Said
my Wednesday
actually, I
morning
just
stream
realized that
because I
this plan
kept.
doesn't work at all because white has RC7 if the black rook ever leaves the 7th.
Yes, that is true too. And I might be able to threaten some mate as well. Let's continue
Said
on this vein.
chess.com say go not play lichess.
Let's do this, that, and when this comes up. The good news is I don't have F4. But it does look pretty fatal in this case if we're not careful, because we do have H4. And it looks pretty fatal for black. Black has to barnacle. And then the pawn moves.
As in Alfenrici.
I think I'm just more interested in getting the pawn to the 7th, and then I might play knight e6. But you're right. Oh, I have knight e6 as well right away. So there's no rook here because of just check. Exactly. I had a preconceived notion. It's amazing how when you have a destination in mind, how that often works. Fascinating. Yes, rook e7 threatens the bishop.
As in Alfenrici.
Said very impressive coordination of pieces.
For white, yes. I basically have that theme down as a focus of my stream all the time. Coordinating your pieces is the mark of becoming a master. And my opponent could not figure out how to coordinate his pieces all the way up to this. He bailed out to simplify the position because of his time trouble. He admitted that when he said he decided to play queen to b7, he'd given up on having any advantage at all. And he just wanted to consolidate. I exchanged, and then I hit him with this move, which was very, very cool. And ultimately, he offered me a draw in a short space of time after we went through a little bit of a piece improvement process. I think when he played king to f8, it was his 40th move. Then he went in, oh no, it was here, bishop f6, and it was his 40th move. And I played rook to e3 just to make sure that I get all of the trumps in the position. And he actually thought for another 10 minutes here and played king e7, and after rook to b8, he offered me a draw. And I'm like, up 40 or so minutes to 15. I think I was up 47 minutes to about his 15 in this position, and I really didn't want to accept the draw, but my mindset My mindset had already convinced myself that I was playing for a draw in this position, and I didn't like it.
The warrior.
Truly sad.
Said Cameron Ochiochis is raiding with a party of 6.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Cameron Ginocchio-chess.
Said it's much harder for him to play after NE5.
Yeah. But ultimately, this is only like less than a half a pawn better for me. His king is well placed to stop any advances and to guard his weakness, and I'm not entirely positive that I can win the rook and pawn ending. So, c'est la vie, as it turns out. C'est la vie. And for those of you who didn't know how, la vie, I said it. So needless to say, it was quite the lovely game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It all worked out well. Yeah, my advantage at the end of this particular game is it was 0.4 the last time I looked. It looks as though maybe with the 7 megabits it says 0.6, but I was looking at a 40 megabit stockfish, 40 megabit RAM stockfish elsewhere. Maybe on my phone it gave it plus 0.4. It was even
Arsenal
less.
Fenrici.
Said I think it's one of those advantages that I think of Al's don't do justice. I expect Magnus could push through for a win there.
I agree with you. And I was really bothered by the fact that my opponent offered me a draw and didn't just suffer his way to the loss, as well he should, because he knew that I wanted a draw and he's playing on my, he's trolling me, you know?
The warrior.
Said I am mans.
You are men's. You're real months. Real mensch.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said John was thinking of the bar lads.
Oh, you know I was. I was in the English pub yesterday. I have a little video. I don't know if I shared it.
Said Arsenal Fanrici pretty sure Magnus could push it for a win from either side.
Exactly, Nico. But I went to the English pub. I watched Iceland versus Israel. I don't know what league or division they're in, but Israel scored the first goal in the first 12 to 15 minutes. Sebastian Maza, Matthew Cornett.
Said IHV the 1 bar.
You have the 1 bar. But basically, we had the Swedish team pretty much to occupy one corner, the French team occupying the other corner. And I was there with the English, Lulu Robs, Matthew, and a few others. We were in the center of the room. We had the French on this side spinning the wheel for 3,000 kroner. It's basically the price of 2 beers, and you get a lot of sorries on the spin the wheel behind the pub. I will post all of that on my socials when I get a chance. It'll be on the Instagram stories soon enough, and maybe, just maybe, I'll figure out how to post a proper picture on Instagram, because it always cuts off the top and bottom. I don't really like posting photos.
Pegasus SVE.
Said drawing.
No, it was a spin the wheel type lottery, and you basically pay 3,000 kroners and you could earn up to 8 beers or a yard of beer. In Europe, I guess it's a meter of beer, but in the United States, it's a yard of beer, which is a long glass of beer for the most part. I'm not sure if you can't convert that to 4 beers or whatever, but sometimes you might win 1 beer. It was very cool overall. But the night before, I was also out with the Swedish, French, English, and Icelandic teams.
Arsenal
And I
Fenrici.
drank too much.
Said a meter of beer, doesn't he have the same ring to it?
A yard of beer, exactly, a meter of beer. Yeah, a meter of beer as opposed to a kiloliter of beer. I don't know. You're going to go with the metric system. Measuring liquids with a meter doesn't seem proper.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said we re good drinkers in England, we don't have much else we excel at, but drinking we sure do.
So what year was it, Arsenal fan, that England could have met Germany in the final, and Germany was hosting the World Cup and they could have run out of beer? I think it was 2004. Might have been 2006.
Arsenal Fenrici.
I think it might have been
Said was it
2000.
2006?
I think it was 2006 as well. Yeah, I'm trying to picture where I was watching it at the time. That was approximately 2006. But Germany nearly ran out of beer on tap because of the World Cup. They had the English there. The English were plowing through. The Germans were plowing through. Nobody was going home, and they were running out of beer in the
Arsenal
country. The
Fenrici.
country had a beer
Said,
shortage.
Arsenal Fenrici.
I'm like, you can't put both of
Said
these
was
guys.
very hot, I remember.
You can't put both of these guys in the same country for a month. You just can't do it. You can't load them up with all those drinkers in one spot. We're gonna have to start importing from the United States, and it'll be terrible beer. Those are the days. Wow. You were very young then. You shouldn't know about that stuff, Arsenal fan. Needless to say, it could be time to think about where to go from here.
Arsenal Fenrici.
Said osmosis, I learned quickly.
Pegasus SVE.
Said want to remember the last time I was in Iceland, we were a beer brewery in Iceland, ordered a plank of beer, 7 different flavors, it was too much.
Oh yeah.
Arsenal Fenrici.
No way.
Said Chess Chopin is streaming.
Chess Chopin is streaming. He's supposed to be doing a podcast with us. Let's give him some grief. You're
Arsenal
right.
Fenrici.
Said I can imagine Pegasus SWE.
Ordered a plank of beer, 7 different flavors. A plank of beer. Uh-oh.
Oh no! Why am I losing every single piece?
Pegasus SVE.
Said the final straw was the peanut
Oh, that was
flavor of the
bad.
beer.
Didn't have time to properly end the stream.
I can't even move. Like, oh, hello, Master Chess Dojo. Thank you for the raid. Oh well, that ended quickly.
Let's end the stream properly over here for the YouTube, at least. That much we can do. We can end the stream properly, hopefully with credits. We'll do one quick run through on the credits. Minka Love Chess, thank you for the follow. Twitch Lale. And the raid for Cameron Gino Kyocha. There we go. So we raided properly. And we got to finish our stream because I didn't know where we were going. Have a great day, everybody. Ron, thanks so much, man.
Shaken, not stirred.
Can you tell a dad joke? Join the dojo. Can you tell a dad joke? Very cool. Thank you. I am FIDE Trader and National Master John MacArthur. Yada, yada, yada. In any event, have a great day, everybody.